I will abstain since I was not at that meeting.
Seconded, all in favor? Upcoming select board meetings, Thursday, January 19th at 5:30. Any select board comments, announcements? Business items 1, to elect the chair of the select board to serve until the first meeting following the election of officers to be held in November of 2023.
Nominate Kathy for that.
I'd like to throw my name into that since I missed the opportunity in my last term to be the chair. And I actually think we should consider allowing the third term select board member to be the chair and not necessarily hold an election, but have that be something that just goes along with your term.
I'm not gonna say I'm gonna disagree with you at that time because I feel like this should have been discussed before and it was brought up on the night of selecting a chair, so I feel it's something that needs to be discussed and a policy put together prior to doing that.
I object in principle to having a policy appointing a board member as chair on the basis of time served. The board should have, every year, should have the opportunity to choose its own chair.
Many towns follow the same policy of having it be part of your term. And we don't have to talk about that tonight, but I certainly still throw my name into it for consideration. So I guess Kathy will be the deciding vote on that.
So there's a motion on the floor. You need a second.
I second Madeline's motion. All in favor? Opposed? To hear and consider investment committee recommendations.
I'm Paul Coombs, I'm the chair of the investment committee. We recently had CDs mature, and we have about a cash balance at the moment in a money market fund is about $430,000. The total value of the overall investment fund of about $680,000. What we wanted to bring to you tonight was approval for reinvesting money. We wanted to reinvest $125,000 in a treasury, U.S. Treasury maturity of 131.24. It's a 2.5% coupon, and the yield to maturity is about 4.74. And also $125,000 into a maturity of 131.25. It's also a 2.5% coupon, and the yield to maturity is 4.365 approximately. Upon reinvestment, if you approve, our maturity schedule will show equal portions of the fund invested at 9 months, 13 months, 21 months, and 25 months. So it's relatively diverse. And,
9, 13, 21, and 25?
Yeah, and we have taken into consideration the $150,000 for the reval. That'll remain in the cash account until it's dispersed. Do you have any questions? All of this reinvestment will be basically at an average rate of about 4.25%, which is pretty good for 2 years, for 1 to 2 years.
But better than it has been.
Yeah, like infinitely better.
I don't have any questions. I think that the investment committee needs to be, we really appreciate the work you've done. You've kept us on schedule. You've done the best for us that you can do. Thank you for the great work.
Right, and we hope in the warrant again that there will be a $50,000 reimbursement again.
keep you on task to remind us again.
Yeah, we will do that.
I
Well,
just,
where it's on the committee too.
I'm Bob Weir, I serve on the committee with Paul, and I just want to remind the board that this decision some years ago to have establish this long-term capital investment fund for the town has been, in my view, a godsend. We have managed to pay for almost all of the new salt sand shed out of this fund, and we are now paying for a $150,000 reval for the town, and we still have $650,000 or so in round numbers invested in the fund, and the town is debt-free. And that's not a statement many communities of this nature can speak to and say is true. Thank you.
And thank you. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendations from the investment committee.
Second?
All in favor?
We also have to move to, have authorized the treasurer to make the investments, to make the transactions.
So I move that we have the treasurer move the funds as recommended by the finance committee.
Second.
All in favor? Item number 3, to consider whether to place an item on the agenda for the select board's meeting on January 31st, 2023, to consider removing a member of the planning board, and if so, to provide advance notice of the removal proceeding to such member. So moved. Any discussion?
I'm not sure I understand what that's stating in that sentence.
That's direct from Sally, it's her language verbatim. And what we're doing is, if you want to consider removal of the planning board member, we need to choose the date. And then Sally would attend the meeting on that particular date. It would be the hearing, or whatever you want to call it.
Is it public or private?
That is up to the planning board member. Typically, it's an executive session.
So up until now, everything's been status quo?
I'm going to second the motion because I think this is the only way we're going to get this resolved. I don't want to keep hanging this one way or the other.
It's the process that the town attorney wants us to follow.
Okay.
All in favor? Article number 4, to consider whether to schedule a meeting with the road committee to review the purpose of the road committee and/or discuss road committee recommendations. So moved. I second.
Aren't we having that meeting tonight?
No, no, this is to consider, because we have not talked about an agenda, which we need to establish and stick to it, which has been challenging for us recently. And we need to know what we're talking about, the matters that are on the table, so that everybody can be prepared to speak on the issues.
So this is one of the procedures that I struggle with. So we say to know what we're going to talk about, so everybody knows who determines what we're going to talk about.
If it's the select board's workshop, then the select board makes the determination of what the agenda will be.
So
You can consider the recommendations of the road committee, what they would like to speak to.
So is this a workshop or a
I-
selectmen's meeting?
Well, it seems to me it should be a standalone meeting so that we have ample time to discuss the issues. I don't want to have people attend a regular select board meeting with other things on the agenda and then find that we don't have time to really get into the issues.
And I think, again, the issues, we don't ever get to the issues because we never really have an agenda. And we're always going around in circles and I don't see us ever solidifying it, so.
Right, so it would be the select board would be running the agenda. Kathy, it would be your agenda and you would be
So
carrying
can
out the
I
agenda.
request that the selectmen make a list of issues they want to talk about, and the road committee make a list, and the road commissioner make a list, and then we prioritize those instead of just sitting there and flying off the cuff and coming up with, I want to talk about, oh, we'll jump over here, we'll jump over there, and we never have a resolution. Does that, speak up?
I think that's great.
Anybody?
My understanding, it was up to the committee to set their agenda, not the select board, not the town administrator.
It's not a road committee meeting.
It would be a select board meeting, workshop. Right, and because we as the select board are doing the inviting, then we would set the agenda. But, of course, the input of the road committee would be sought.
And the select board set the charge for the road committee initially, so it would make sense that it would be their meeting.
Well,
Did we make a
everybody knows,
motion on this?
yes, I move that we consider it, and and you seconded it. And I was just gonna make the comment that, the only danger is that Kathy is so often so arbitrary that the road committee might not have a chance to get their words in. But perhaps she can be persuaded to hold back on her authoritarian nature. Do you think?
It will be difficult.
Okay. We have a public commitment for Kathy not to be authoritarian as we conduct this workshop.
It has to be, in order for us to come up with a plan that works for everybody, it's gotta have both input. It's not gonna work if my agenda is completely different from the road committee and the road committee is completely different from the select board. I think we're close, I just think we haven't really had a chance to talk and solidify. That's all. And the more and more we go ahead, just like other committees, not calling anybody out, I don't want anybody to think that, but one of the issues was, I went to a meeting recently where Marine Committee can come to the select board and get some of their time for their volunteer work, and then somebody says, well, that's only limited to. Nowhere does it say it's limited to. Nowhere does it say, so we get ourselves in these messes because we just make a broad statement, and then we try to hold somebody to somebody else's interpretation. So we have to be careful and make sure our interpretation's the same. That's all.
That'd be very helpful.
So,
Do we have a timeline that we're looking at?
Yeah, we need to establish a date. I think it's important to try to choose a date. I don't know what schedules are. I'm usually available.
I think the hard part is that it's gonna be weather for some of the people on that committee. So we gotta look at that, but I think we try to schedule when the most people can attend.
Is there a particular day with most of the road committee here that works better than others for you?
When is our next road committee?
It was scheduled for the 16th, but that's a holiday.
Okay. And we don't do workshops on holiday.
No.
Okay. So should we shoot for the 17th? Should be a Tuesday, day after?
Does anybody have any scheduling conflicts this month?
17? Yeah, I'm good to go today.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
So is that gonna be the workshop or the road committee meeting?
No, that's a workshop.
Okay, just wanted, because you can.
Well, I don't think we can do another road committee
Without a workshop,
without having the workshops first. Because
'Cause
I
now,
feel like the
yeah,
last few months we've been spinning our wheels.
so now they're doing work and not knowing why they're doing the work, so it's not fair.
And is it here, 6 o'clock, 5:30?
6 o'clock.
Is that gonna work for you, Wayne? Yeah.
How will the agenda be established? Who will establish the agenda?
Kathy, can you do that?
I don't have problems doing that. It'd be really nice to get some input from the road committee though.
When would you like it by?
I don't know, can I get it by the 11th? Or is that too short notice?
I'm sure we can probably pull something together.
For 5 minutes, 6 minutes?
So you want
So just send
us to
it
send
to
you,
me. Okay.
so we'll send you an email, you
No,
can,
just send it
okay.
to, and I'll get it from her, and I'll probably sit with her, and we'll just see what seems to be the biggest issues. If we can knock off 2 issues that are 1 and 2, that would be fantastic.
Okay.
So whatever seems like to be the big things, we'll put right at the top, get started with those.
Yep, understood.
Will the road commissioner be involved in
I
that?
think he needs
Oh,
to.
yeah, I will let him know.
Okay, good.
Agenda number 5, to appoint a Register of Voters for a 2-year term beginning immediately and ending December 31st, 2024.
That would be Carly.
Mhm.
I nominate Carly. As our town
There's
There's
clerk.
an appointment paper, right?
There's an appointment paper in there.
Okay. I move we sign the appointment paper.
State makes me do that. By state statute, the town clerk,
I second
That's
that.
right.
All in favor?
Why don't you step out there?
the registrar.
Right, there's nobody else that's qualified.
Julie could do it.
You don't want to be removed, right? Okay.
This is a biannual appointment, so every 2 years we appoint a registrar, and then on even years, we appoint the ballot clerks. So if this seems familiar, it's because you do this every other year.
Do we have to say officially all in favor?
We just did. You just did.
Oh, I missed that. I'm in favor of it, that's why I'm signing my name.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And
It's an honor to serve.
Well, we're honored that you serve.
Is that enthusiasm or sarcasm?
It is. Ask me next year for the presidential, right?
Oh, yeah.
But this is a good year.
All right, number 6, Town Administrator's Report.
I don't have anything tonight, other than to say that Carly met all of the requirements for recertification as a municipal clerk. So we have a certified municipal clerk.
Recertified.
Recertified.
I am certified, certified of all you people.
Congratulations, and thank you.
I know it's tough. Any future agenda items? I think we have a lot.
Yeah, we have a lot.
Okay. Any public comment? Yes, Barry?
Perry Estabrook, taxpaying resident, town of West Bath. Is the select board aware that the certificate of completion was signed by the engineer, the contractor, and the town administrator for the project being completed as engineered, and it is in fact not done to the engineered specifications?
For which project?
Bull Rock Road.
I think this is something that would be more suitable for the workshop, instead of taking it up tonight so that we're prepared.
No, the document was falsely signed. It's not completed. It's not to
Based on
do with
what?
our agenda.
We,
The plans,
we are not prepared to discuss that, and I certainly would want to see much more evidence if we're going to get into that kind of a discussion.
so my question was, is are you aware?
Has it been signed? Is
Yeah,
that the question?
and that final payment was made.
That is always our procedure for signing off.
So that's a
When Pine
yes.
Tree says it's done, yes, of course. That's nothing new.
So I guess,
If the procedure needs to change, that's something we should discuss at the workshop.
But I think Perry's not talking on behalf of the workshop,
No,
he mentioned he's a taxpaying citizen.
I understand that, but
that's
that's a big subject that the select board is not prepared to speak on tonight.
so I
We
guess,
have not seen this paperwork.
So everybody in the town can come to the workshop?
It's a public meeting.
Okay.
wait, you said that the selectmen are not aware that the
I didn't
certificate
say
of
that.
completion has been paid, has been signed, and that they haven't paid?
They are aware that they've been paid because they signed the warrants.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I guess, as we're pulling together agenda items, Perry, what documentation do we need to be included in that? So that we have enough, so at least we have enough time to see it in advance, what are you asking?
well, the contract documents, which I requested, I did not get a complete set of documents. There was no bid bond, there was no performance bond. All I got was a section 2 of the contract, 3 pages, and the set of engineered plans were not followed. I mean, I don't know how to present you with clear evidence other than without stepping into the road committee position, I can't give you clear evidence. It's just I've physically witnessed, taken tape measure out and looked at the plans, looked at the job completed, and they are not done to specifications.
Before we discuss that, I need to see paperwork, I need to see measurements, I need to see all the information. And I'm simply not prepared to discuss that this evening.
So can we get that, how would it take to collect that?
We actually sent Perry all of the information that we have.
But for us, what can,
Yes, so we have the information. I can easily get it to anybody.
So you don't have bond paperwork for the job that was clearly stated it was
The
required?
bonds are in the packet.
so are you asking him to mark up the deficiencies? Or you have all of that paperwork, you can review it yourselves to see if that has been completed? I would not know what the deficiencies were in my capacity. I would certainly look to someone who has that knowledge to share if there's a deficiency or not.
And Steve would need to be involved in the conversation.
So I guess, so if we have, I guess, can you make sure we all have a copy of the bid, the contract,
Yes, of course.
the plans, whatever we need to,
I think the fact is that there is a question does illustrate that there is a procedural problem that we need to get fixed. Personally, I think Mountain Road is considerably cleaner. It's less gray. And if we're working on the procedures, and I understand Perry's frustration, somebody who works with plans and expects to follow plans, expect to see them followed. That's just his background and my background. So I understand his personal frustration. But I do think Mountain Road is considerably cleaner illustration of what we need to fix.
so is there a problem with Mountain Road as well?
Oh, hell yeah.
So my question, I have a question for the board. At this workshop, are we going to go back and review projects that are already completed? Or would you prefer that the focus be on procedures moving forward?
If we have a deficient process on 2 roads that were substantial money, we need to make sure that we follow those plans. I think
Well,
that's
that isn't
important.
going backwards, it's going forward.
That's
It's-
learning from
Well,
our
we,
past.
Right.
but we need it, if we have issues, well, that'll also help set procedure.
What
So-
makes the road committee right over, we had this design, we had an engineer, why are they right, the engineers
I'll
wrong?
be happy to show you.
And I think
And that's
that's
what-
right.
Oh, hold on, I'm not speaking as a road committee member, I'm speaking as a taxpayer citizen. We are gonna have a road committee workshop, and I will gladly speak at that point. But as a taxpayer, the quantity spent was not equal to the product
But if we're
received.
hiring an engineer, I need to know what the problem is with the engineer we're hiring, and how do we firm up those things with an engineer and a bid process to go forward.
Well, I think that's one of the things they talked about, is having a third-party engineer evaluate over a certain price point. That's one of the things that was discussed at the last
Right.
road
Right, but
committee.
that isn't going backwards, that's going forward.
Right.
But if we have a project that was not completed to spec, we need to evaluate that. And if the engineer signed off on something that he shouldn't have signed off on, we need to see that too.
So what are we gonna do, hire a third person now?
If we need to look
This
at
is
that.
something that the road committee, I think, would like to discuss in the workshop.
Yeah.
But I think we need to have all of the documentation, so if we can sit there, and if you've got information you can share on Mountain Road, and Perry's got information that he can share on Bull Rock, on what were elements of concern, I'm not gonna say deficient one way or the other, that we can address, making sure that the town, one, received what they paid for. If they didn't, what is the remedy, if any? And then what are we gonna do path forward to ensure the town gets their expectations, financially and commitment to
Because
a
I'm
bill?
sure this engineer must work for other towns and have other jobs.
Of course they do.
Where did it go wrong here?
But that's not, I can't, and
No, I'm just saying.
I think that's what I think, that's where, if we can see, and we have two potential.
I can see it, I can see the paper, I still won't understand it.
But if we have two valid examples of concerns, and these are our last two road projects that we've done in the town, that to me is concerning. If there's two engineered projects that went astray, we need to figure out why.
I'm not sure they went that terribly far astray.
But
Definitely some problems.
stepping outside the line of our contract to me is astray, whether it's a smidgen or a lot, we didn't meet the contract
And maybe
expectation.
we didn't do the contract appropriately.
But that comes then to what is our bid process, which I've also been talking, I mean, so there's a lot that we wanna talk about in this bid.
But again, that's something we need an attorney to really help us with.
Yes.
And could we do this at the workshop, not tonight?
Yes.
I think too, the one thing we can say is we need a process, but then we're gonna need other workshops. to come up with
Absolutely.
a process.
Yeah, this isn't gonna happen in one night,
No.
I don't know, I don't expect it to, but I think we need.
especially if we're gonna do a complete review of Bull Rock and Mountain Road. That's gonna take
Yeah.
a fair amount of time.
But-
And that's why I would like to know from the select board, when we go over the agenda, what are we really trying to get at?
All of it.
No,
No.
there's not enough time. I
Not
think-
for one night,
I
but
think
I
this
think,
would be a different meeting where we would talk about Bull Rock and Mountain Road, and maybe have a third party who has maybe an engineer that doesn't have anything to do with this engineer.
that's no skin in the
or
game.
just to help us to try to understand what went wrong and how do we improve. That might be a whole different
Yeah.
workshop.
Typically, you know, when a project's done in town, there's an engineer, there's a contractor, and the town typically will hire a third-party engineer for inspection, in my experiences.
And we didn't
Top-
do that this time.
We've
Well,
never
no,
done that.
We've never done that.
We've never done that, just because of the volume of the job, and it's always been like the good old boy club type thing, and now we're getting to a point where things obviously cost a lot more money, we're taking bigger pieces of pie, so to speak, and, there's a lot more liability at stake at this point, so I think we may want to look at that particular option in the future. A lot of towns have, third-party engineers just on retainer. So, hey, we need an inspection, it protects our investment, and at the end of the day, it's fairly inexpensive to have them really do it. They're $200 an hour, 4 hours, $800 for an inspection to make sure that we're getting our investment.
On a $150,000 investment, that's not a bad insurance,
It's not, no.
and that's what we spent on.
So I think that would be a separate workshop, so is that,
Well, that's kind of like to me, as far as I'm concerned, I may be speaking out of turn for the board, but that's like a yes or no from the selectmen at that point in time, that would be rolled into the next bid process. Like, these items could be brought
but I
together.
think we need a workshop to determine, like you brought that up. I think you probably have some other good ideas that we may need to incorporate.
Yeah, and I think so too, but these are items like, hey, this is, I just explained what
So
what
make
other
sure
towns
this
doing.
one thing at least is in the next.
Exactly, we'll have a bunch of line items, maybe we'll set a time limit on the meeting, give it an hour and a half, whatever that may be. We'll get through the 30 line items, whatever we have, the next 20, we'll wait till the next one. You know, but I think a lot of the items that could be pushed right along with you guys' approval, and I think we could really streamline it if we do it properly. Sorry.
Actually, I like that idea,
Well, and we've toyed with putting an official bid process in place so that everyone's bidding the same spec, whether it's,
I know we did, and we keep talking about it.
no,
So
but
now
that's
we-
where
now
that's
we're
where
gonna get
that's where
action.
I want, that's my point, is I wanna have this, you know, let's come out of this with procedure.
Let's not make it so big that we get stuck and we come up with nothing again, that's my fear.
Sure.
I wanna come up with something, because I feel like we talk, and we come up with nothing.
No, we think we came up with everything.
So we need to meet in the middle, huh? So, yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it, and I think we can come up with a good plan that meets everybody, especially the taxpayers.
Okay.
So can we get a 2-hour commitment for the first meeting, since there's a lot going on, for an
Yeah.
hour and a half?
As long as the rest of the board is
I think there's gonna be a lot of discussion.
We can, at some point, if it gets out of control, or people are really, we're not making any progress, I would say we quit and start again.
Yep.
So if we get stuck in a place where we're just going round and round,
Yeah.
let's take a break and start again.
Okay.
If we start at 6, going to 7:30 seems to me to be sufficient. We're going to have to do this more times than once. An hour and a half. People who start early and the next day, starting early the same day, I think an hour and a half is plenty, and that keeps us from all getting tired and cranky.
Sounds good to me.
I think we can move it along fairly quickly. We'll have a-
Only because I get up at 3,
Right.
I'll go with it.
But I think the big key is to have Steve there as well, to make sure that his points are brought to the table, so we can combine them and come with a solution at that point.
What I would say to Steve and anybody else is we're doing this, it needs to be solution-based, and if you're not here to help us with the solution, then move on.
Agreed. So who's gonna put together all the documents for this? Is this gonna be Christine? Because we're gonna discuss drawings, so we're gonna wanna have probably, I'm not privy to the Mountain Road items, I'm privy to the Bull Rock Road items, so we're probably gonna want plans, the RFP,
I'll get you up to speed on the thing.
So can you-
If you decide which way you wanna go,
Yeah.
that makes sense to me.
So can you send that in your request over? So you're saying we want your input by the 11th, can you also say, for review of these roads, we need a set of plans, we need the bid, so what you believe to be the complete project
Okay,
boundary?
Yep.
So that we make sure we have all of those documents spelled out in advance of the meeting.
got it. So, okay. So I guess the
we may
board-
spend the first hour and a half on one thing,
Yep,
as long as people know that, and then the next time we'll go on to the next thing, so this process may take
quite some
4 or
time.
5 years.
Yeah.
But
So maybe we'll get
progress-
an email going for all the board members of their recommendations, and then I can forward that to Christine after I put it together. Fair enough?
Darlene?
This may save you some time. If you're gonna look at Bull Rock and at Mountain Road, are you anticipating going back on the contractor if there are discrepancies? Because if you're not, then you're really just looking at those to change your process and procedure for the next one.
I don't know if we can answer that until we see what the discrepancies are,
Okay.
Right.
if any.
Still may need a third party to take a look at it.
And is it
Because you don't have any sort of warranty or 1-year warranty in any of your contracts, correct?
I'd have to review it.
Of the provided contract to me, there was no mention of any warranty on the work done.
Can you, is there a town that does a good job with their contracts that we could look at that would have some of these things included in there? That
I'm
anyone
sure
would-
there is, I don't know which ones, but.
Yes,
You know
Who
which
would that
one?
be?
yeah.
You
I
know
can
which
bring a
one?
couple, I can bring, or send you some copies
Okay, that would be
to
good,
review.
That'd be awesome.
because we don't know what a good contract is until we see a good contract.
Yeah.
We're not attorneys, but I've done a lot of contracts with the state, and when you compare one to another, you can say, well, this is warranted, this one's got no mention of.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I'll see if I can send something off, so you guys will have time to review it as well
That would be
prior to
awesome.
the meeting.
And then if we have any questions, like something in there as part of the process, why?
Yeah, you can also go on, some of the town website, Topsom is a big one, because they always have projects going on, and there's always RFPs in there. You can review, they're structured relatively the same, other than, you know, some additional items, depending on what type of project that they have.
So we could and should add things based on the uniqueness of.
Yeah, so it's like there's a template ultimately you go by, and then depending on what you're doing, like, you know, the roads are gonna be different than, you know, the structural work here at the town hall, and you might be able to use that in some of the future bid items.
And I'm sure there's also pricing thresholds at frequency of engineer review or something such as that as well.
There are, yeah, there's some consistency with that the engineers' proposals are usually not close, yes.
So, I know there was a debacle with this engineer, there's some concerns. Is there a good engineer that you would recommend that I may have a conversation with regarding?
Yeah, I mean, Pine Tree Engineering has some pretty good insight and part of the process.
That's our current.
That's our current, so they're very familiar with this third-party process. I'm sure they're a third-party engineer for other folks as
So is
well.
there a third party you could recommend if it wasn't Pine Tree?
It'd be Chris Belanger, Chris Belanger Engineering, which I mentioned in, probably 6 months ago, on the third-party inspection process.
Does he do third party?
He does, yeah. He was actually lined up to do Bull Rock Road. And I believe that motion was rejected at one of the meetings to have it inspected.
And he's a good engineer, I've worked with him.
Sightlines is also, Sightlines, they're right out of Brunswick. They're just very difficult to nail down.
But Chris Belander, you've spoken about potential work with us in the past.
Yeah, and he was actually the one to sign on with retainer.
And I think we have to remember too, this is all preference based.
Sure.
Because a lot of people would say Pine Tree is really good in the best too, so.
Yeah.
We don't want to get into.
No, it's actually somebody that we don't use, I think is better because they're somewhat impartial. And they have no skin in the game from that perspective.
So it's funny you should mention skin in the game. I strongly feel that having the road commissioner as the contractor is a direct conflict of interest and really complicates any review / study of a project. So I think we need to seriously look at that.
That's another topic for.
And I just brought up another topic that I feel strongly about that I believe needs to be brought up in a board of selectmen meeting. In a select
Or at the
board meeting.
workshop.
Is that something that's discussed at the workshop, or is that something that would be discussed at the selectmen's
I
meeting?
think the selectmen need to discuss first.
Yes. I mean, I feel as though that the committee meeting has nothing to do with the position of the road commissioner.
I totally agree. Any other public comments?
I think that is a direct
Can you
conflict of
state your
interest.
name, please?
Bill Bruce, I think that is a direct conflict of interest to have the road commissioner be in charge of the same project. I agree with Terry. And I also agree that there should be a third party. I work with third party engineers on some of my projects, which are required, and they basically oversight to make sure that our work is done properly.
Don't disagree with you, it's something new. I don't think the town has done this before that I'm aware of, so we're learning as we go along too. Yes, sir.
We can't have a third-party inspector until we have a product that can be inspected. And we've done that.
Oh, we did. We had 2 roads.
No, you didn't. Not the one I looked at, no, you
Are you talking about the drawings or the actual work?
I'm talking about the drawings and the contract.
Yeah, the drawings in the contract are really not adequate to either know what to build properly or to verify that whatever was built was correct or not correct. There's not enough information on them.
Which kind of rolls back to having a standard that everyone has to follow, which is one of the things that we're gonna work on.
And I think it falls back to something I've been asking for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now, is that the selectman and the administrator don't know everything about everything. That's why we have these committees. And I had asked long ago for a construction committee, which would be comprised of people who know how to do roads and buildings and contracts and bids and all of that sort of thing, so that it could be checked by those people of expertise, and to give the selectmen and the administrator and the town staff assistance with that sort of expertise before something goes out to bid or some contract goes out. So I guess I would throw that in there. I think that that would be a good idea too, because, you know, some of the contracts just aren't comprehensive enough to really say, well, you were supposed to do that.
I agree.
I don't think anybody disagrees, it's gonna take some time, and, we'll get there. Any other comments?
One comment that does come up, I apologize. You said it's gonna take some time. Are we prudent not to have any projects put out for bid until we figure this out? We as a town, not Perry as a road committee member.
Well, I would go back to Perry as a road committee member, only because is there any project out there that you see that can't wait?
Well, that's not part of our charter, I don't believe.
No, I'm just saying, you know the roads better than I do at this point. Is there anything that you see as you
Yeah.
can't wait
Berry's
for?
Mill Road.
Berry's Mill.
Berry's Mill is
That's a
stated.
state road.
I'm sorry, not Berry's Mill.
Of the
Birch
culverts,
Point.
of the culverts that we were chartered to,
There's a
I
first
found,
culvert.
I found 2 that, in my opinion, were critical. Not the best opinion on them, but they really look like they're gonna cause a lot of damage. And there was also another culvert that was in the information given that was not passed along to Steve on Bull Rock Road. He overlaid it, now it's already breaking up through the pavement, they're gonna have to cut it back out and redo it again. So there are things that we have provided as a road committee, information that did not get relayed to the road commissioner.
The road committee has been told repeatedly that you needed to appear on an agenda at a select board meeting and convey your recommendations.
Kathy just asked me as a road committee member, and I answered her question.
It's kind of like,
We seem to be lacking
Spring Hill
procedure.
and, down by, where they park the buses for BIW, trying to get them to do that road correctly, also. And then all Carly and, why can't I think of her name? What's her name?
Julie?
Julie, I forget it, now we don't have anybody that can take that call right now. So it is frustrating, because we even get that every time we call the state and say we really need some help with, well, there's nobody can take your call right now, there's nobody in charge right now, there's nobody. So it is.
So I guess going back to my original question, do you think it prudent that until we really figure this out, we delay any project? Because you say it's gonna take time, I mean, we're already in January. Our project should be out to bid soon, but if we have no clear direction, I think we're gonna be in the same
I
boat.
think we're gonna work on that, I think it's gonna take time, but I think if we get some other
We see the urgent
contracts-
need for it also.
Okay.
I see this as a primary focus, that will lead to procedural opportunity across many platforms.
My only concern, and I'll just put it out there again, I think everybody has preferences, so I think maybe talking to Pine Tree and Chris makes common sense, because that way we're not focusing just on what seems to be a group of people's preferences, that we get a variety of opinions and not just, well,
Well, I think that's the purpose of the committee, to get the variety of
Right.
opinions, right?
Well, and I
Opposed to
think,
one individual.
are we not looking at a Pine Tree contract? I don't think Chris should be involved in that evaluation.
I'm not saying that, I'm
Oh.
saying on how to put a contract together,
Oh,
that's all I
oh.
want to know.
Oh,
I misunderstood that too.
Yeah,
I
that's
wasn't
all I
following
want to know,
that.
you know, the different, just so,
100%.
yeah, and then if Pine Tree, you see this here, all of a sudden this one's 10 times pages longer, why? What's the differences in the two
Yeah.
standard contracts?
So are we under an understanding on who's getting what for documents, or do we need to, I mean, what do you need from the committee?
You're gonna let us know what we should have for the 2 roads, the package
Okay,
that we need. I believe you're also gonna send in what you would like to be discussed at the workshop to
And maybe
Christine.
with that, you should put your priorities, so we can take a look at it. Is your priority the mountain road or whatever road, or is it
yep,
the bid process, or is it contract, I don't know, just a priority of where you'd like to start.
okay, yeah, we can do that.
Because it would be, I don't wanna spend a lot of time on something that's not gonna make any difference 2 months from now.
Yeah, understood.
Understood.
There's a lot of people in this room that I don't recognize. I'm glad that you're all here, and I hope you come back to the next meeting as well.
Darlene?
Is there a project either in design right now, or in the bid process, or going to be under construction in the next 6 months?
Not that we know of. There's nothing been presented for a project.
The only project that Steve mentioned to me is that something needed to be done on Birch Point soon, but nothing is underway right now. That's the only road
And is that
that he's
something,
concerned about.
were you looking at a climate resilient bid for that as well?
That's part of, it's one of the projects, but that doesn't deal with the road itself. There's actually 2 projects there.
Because I would welcome you to pursue any bid that would help pay for
So
that.
is
That's a
that-
substantial project.
Sound like something that's gonna be emergent?
Well,
Could be.
we've been promising work on Birch Point for a number of years
I
now.
know, but promising and something that is emergent is 2 different things. So is it something that needs our attention in the next 3 months, or is it something that can wait until?
Well,
It shouldn't wait.
Steve's not here, and he really needs to speak
Okay.
on it, but I think it would probably be part of next year's budget, is what he
Well, but-
was thinking.
And if that's something that we feel a grant's gonna cover some of it, we should be pursuing that now, if that's gonna be something in the near future. So
If there's an appropriate grant program, yes.
The, if we have any more of those super duper high tides, it may not be.
It may be emergent.
It may be.
Yeah, it's approaching
emergency.
that. We're lucky that it's withstanding after the last storm.
Any more public comment?